So as Kieran said, I'm going to kind of talk about two things. The first thing is, I guess, how I almost, as I said, level myself up in Tableau. So how do I kind of keep coming up with ideas, or how do I keep kind of, testing my skills? And the second thing will be kind of taking you through one of those I've learned recently. So in my opinion, every great visualization kind of starts with two things. It needs an idea, and you essentially need the ability to then follow through with that idea. In terms of, I guess, actually building on that idea, if I had the idea, for instance, I want to build a waterfall chart, like the lovely one behind me, I could just simply go to Google, type in, how to build a waterfall chart in Tableau, or how to build a waterfall chart in Power BI. There'll be loads and loads of walkthroughs on there, and then I'll easily be able to essentially find a walkthrough and learn how to do it and essentially level up. So I'm always adding that skill to my my set of skills. The only issue is it's slightly more difficult to do it the other way. It's slightly more difficult if I've already got the ability to then come up with an idea of testing it, if that makes sense. And I think one way I do this a lot of the time is I'll go to various social media websites. So LinkedIn's a great one, Twitter as well, and obviously Tableau Public, which is great for essentially just finding new ideas. And also Reddit's a great one. So there's a few subreddits, like I think there's one called like Data is Beautiful. There's a few Tableau ones, Power BI ones, for instance, which are always worth checking out to kind of find new and exciting ways of doing things. One of the key things here, though, and I'll take you to the next one, is usually I won't read the walkthrough itself. So here's one I found on LinkedIn, which basically is showing how to make transparent bar charts in Tableau. So I think this actually originally came up on my timeline, and before I'd even sort of clicked on it, I was like, I've got an idea of roughly how I can do that. So instead of then clicking into the walkthrough and almost finding it out, I went, right, let's find the data set, let's throw it into Tableau, and let's see if we can do it. So let's do that now. So I'm going to just pull Tableau across. Hopefully you should be able to see it. Is Tableau pulled across correctly? I was worried it wouldn't. Perfect. So I've got this data set, and it's just got rivers and their lengths in it. So what I can do is I can very quickly just set up a visualization of the length of each river, and I've pre-pulled in my lovely picture of my rivers. So what I can do here is I can then also pull in my bar chart. So, and we'll realise to begin with, this isn't really going to work, right? It's not as simple as doing that. What I need to think about is how I'm going to do this. And I guess my way of doing it is, what I want these bars to be the transparent bit, and the bits at the top to be the white bit. Again, you can kind of see that in the picture here. The bits at the top, the white, and it's the bar that's see-through. So how can we do that? So let's just quickly jump back into the actual thing itself. One way I could do this is almost inverting it. So I can actually come up with maybe a formula to invert these bars so they're the opposite way around. And that's exactly what I've done here. I've got my invert river. So now you'll see that the long rivers are small and the small rivers are big. And now if I actually flip this axis, so we've now actually created kind of those little bits at the top of each of them. So I'm going to remove my length, and now we've got kind of this as our idea. And what I can do now is I can turn my color. Actually, let's quickly jump back into our waterfall and have a look. So that's sort of a start. What I can do is I can now on format change my sheet to none, and I can sort of start to see it coming together. I know I need to make a few more tweaks, for instance. I can make my bars really thick, and I can change the color to white. Let's have a look at that looking. Okay, we're starting to get there, and I know if I right click and go format, I can remove those ugly grid lines in rows. And one thing I might do as well is I might see if I can put some sort of slats between things to clearly define those bars. I should just do that in my row dividers and turn that on to nice and thick with white. Oh, sorry, not rows, columns. Always do that. So now, if you ask me, I can start to see those bars, right? I can see these bars down here. So what I'm now going to do is I can now remove my headers here, remove my header here. I've got a sheet name on as well, so let's just hide that. And I've kind of got that idea, right? I've begun to kind of show, and again, I can jump back into how it looks here with the white separating the bars and the formatting at the top. And I know one thing also I'll be able to see, actually, and one I've done earlier, as I know I'm running out of time, is I've done one here where I've actually put a bit more formatting into it. So I've added a title, I've got my names along the bottom, and because actually of the way I've done this, I can obviously filter, right? So I can just bring a few rivers in and it's all going to show perfectly and it's all going to work great. So now what I usually do is I'll go back to LinkedIn, which I've got here, and actually find out how the guy did it. And Alexander, I'm sure he's done it great. Let's scroll down. So he's actually used polygons. So he's gone a very kind of fancy way of doing it round, a completely different way of me doing it. But now I can read his walkthrough and I can kind of level up twice in one go quite easily because I now learn his way and I've learned my way. And it's just a great way of kind of, I guess, practicing those skills to kind of, you know, test yourself. And it's sometimes if you don't have the idea, someone else will have already had an idea that you can kind of easily pick up and play around. So I advise you all to get out there and see what's out there and start testing yourself.
I love that. That's so good. You could
love it, Ryan.
Time at your hand, Ryan, but really cool.
Cool. So yeah, love that, Ryan. Thanks a lot for that. We've got a couple of minutes for any questions. If anyone has any questions coming in, one from me is what kind of use case would you go for this type of chart for? Because obviously there are some cases where this wouldn't be suitable, but you know, where would you do this sort of thing?
I mean, I think in a business context, it's not always the best, as you know, it doesn't always give the clearest show. And again, you can sometimes see that some of these get washed out by the picture. Maybe a less visual picture, maybe if it's just a different color or something that you want to throw behind or something like that. But I think it definitely kind of brings a bit of vividness to your sort of visualization. Definitely.
Agree. Awesome. No, it looks really good. I think I'll be one that sort of thing will look really cool on a Tableau public profile.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember, I think I was saying here in the, I think it must have been a year or so ago. I think I remember seeing this with you, and it was actually a different LinkedIn post I'd seen, and the guy had cut out specific shapes behind it. So he'd done it again another completely different way. So there's always multiple ways to do something in Tableau, but sometimes it's just best finding your own way of doing it.
For sure, yeah. There's always more than one way of doing something, isn't there? Great, brilliant. Thank you very much, Ryan.